one will remember your name.
Someone posted to Onision.co talking about how they tried to defend me on a Eugenia video not too long ago. The person who was defending me was introduced to points made against me, and they would like clarification of what this person's saying, reasonably so. First off, they say, you don't see Onision being an entirely disrespectful person. He promised he wouldn't make a video on this girl after she asked him not to, yet he done it. The context was a negative video. I did not make a negative video about that person after they requested I not do that. After all, who would ask someone not to make a positive video about them? So your point is pretty gosh darn invalid based on the obvious context. A second chance, either you're new or you're implying whenever he apologizes he gets a clean slate. A second chance, which is entirely the point I made. He's not the level I make him out to be, and this is where they proceed to express all of their issues with me. Rating the looks and bodies of underage girls, sometimes with blank comments. Firstly, I would like proof of this, because as you saw from recent videos where I rated people, I actually showed the ages of the people I was rating, and they were all 18 plus. I just feel that when someone approaches me and asks me for my honest opinion, I should give them my honest opinion, especially if that opinion is not inappropriate. So again, I would like you to prove that I've ever said something inappropriate in a serious context to a minor. In fact, you could make a montage while proving the ages of the people I'm referencing. Then you can post it to onision.co and I'll have to address it, won't I? Shames Shane Dawson for gaining weight, something Shane is very emotional about. Firstly, thanks a lot for bringing that guy up. You guys tell me not to talk about people, and then you bring them up again and again and again. And then I get blamed for talking about them even though you guys are the ones who brought him up. Regardless, so many of you guys were on board when I pointed out that certain YouTubers might have health problems until it came to Shane. For a while, it was obvious that Shane was classified as medically obese, even possibly worse. But as far as I know, Shane has since improved. In fact, I have had private conversations with Shane about his weight, and it's very clear at this point that my comments didn't really hurt because Shane is likely healthier now than he was before. I don't watch his videos, but based on the thumbnails that have come up, Shane is healthier than he was when I actually addressed his weight. And let me also establish that in every single video where I addressed Shane's weight, I made it very clear that if Shane was happy with his weight, then he should be happy. But a lot of people don't like to focus on the truth. They like to focus on catchphrases and simple sentences that they can use against people to make them look worse than they really are. Pay attention to everything I say, not just the things that you can take out of context to make me sound bad. Now, because I said this, I must bring up this next point. A lot of people respond to that saying, Greg, you would know about context, wouldn't you? We're referencing a video where Shane Dawson was talking about a girl who's less than half the age of any girl I've ever put in my videos regarding rating or anything like that. And he was describing her as SEXY. A little 9, 8, or 7-year-old, he was describing them as SEXY. Meanwhile, I have never, ever done such a thing. I have never described such a young child as something like that. Now, if Shane can go and say that that was him joking after his co-host threatened him with prison, then why is it you look at videos where I never rate anyone so young in such a gross way and say that I'm a weirdo, but you give Shane a free pass? And Shane went on. He didn't stop at the 8-year-old. He also went on to describe a little baby as, again, very stimulating to him. He even said that he looked up baby PORN. Okay? You guys understand how crazy you are? If I said those things, if I looked up baby PORN, you would lose your minds. Yet Shane does that and simply says later on, oh, I was joking. And he's the guy people celebrate, and I, of course, am a pariah. My point is if you're mad at me for rating people who are primarily adults upon their request, posting to my forums where my forums clearly state that you can only submit appropriate images that are YouTube friendly, obviously, then you have to be enraged by Shane because that man targeted babies and young children. So yes, I do understand context, and I understand that when somebody only says they're joking once they're threatened with prison time, they're not necessarily being honest, but instead trying to save themselves. Meanwhile, I admit wholeheartedly what I've done, and I say, go to the police, and what happens? Nothing. Because what I have done is said that people can freely submit photos to my website so long as those photos are appropriate for YouTube. Hello. Videotapes his ex having an assumed nervous breakdown. You know why you guys know about that footage? Because she asked me to upload it. And you know what really actually happened? She later admitted that those were fake. Next, blankually shaming his ex. What they're talking about is me saying that my ex had poor hygiene issues, which she did. And I can guarantee you, if I didn't take care of myself the way this person did, if I took off my pants and the whole room was filled with the smell of maggots and trash, and one of my exes went to the public and said this, you guys would be shaming me till the end of time about it, because we all know that hygiene is within our own control. You understand this? Okay. Especially since she released a bunch of private voicemails of me, which if I released a bunch of private voicemails of someone, you guys, again, would freak out and say that I violated someone's privacy and I should be ashamed of myself, etc. But someone else does it to me and I'm the bad guy again. The person described it as stalking an ex by leaving voicemails. Is that stalking, leaving a lot of voicemails? I would look up the definition of stalking, but you guys hate it when I use facts. And they say trying to emotionally manipulate her. Guys, she was 26, I was 26. She's a full-grown adult. She chose to release those voicemails and that's fine. And the same girl came to me apologizing for her behavior down the line. I said I forgave her for that and I apologized for me ever being rude to her. She then offered her friendship, said that she was gonna be in town, gave me her phone number, etc. But I denied having a friendship with her because she was not an honest person. And she was not a clean person and I did not want to be associated with her. So the girl you're trying to paint as a damsel in distress clearly wanted me back, considering she said she wanted to hang out with me when I was the only person in Seattle that she'd be hanging out with. Gave me her number, said I'm actually a good guy, etc. This damsel wound up being on my side. So that means that you're all alone in your stance against me on this position when it comes to everyone involved in the actual situation. Tried to manipulate a young woman to being chained into his basement with a tattoo, I'm a liar, then proceeded to shame her when she rejected the request. You're talking about someone that I put on a leash before, like a collar around their neck and a leash. That is something that people are into. I personally am a bit into the BDSM. So don't go watch the movie 50 Shades of Grey and then come shaming me. My name is not Onision, my name is not Gregory Jackson, my name is Christian Grey in this context. So again, if you have a stance against men who are dominant and who will offer to consensually chain someone up as part of being a top or a daddy or an otherwise dominating personality, because believe it or not, millions of women are into that, then that is your business and not mine. In fact, the key reality that you leave out, that so many of you dishonestly ignore, is that this person actually agreed to it. They said that they would come to my house and they would wear a sign around their neck saying I'm a liar because they admitted to being a liar. Which of course, if I ever said that I was a liar, you guys would never let me hear the end of it. But she says that she's a liar and you guys are like, oh, that poor girl. You realize that's why she got dumped multiple times, right? Because of criminal activity and lying. Regardless, the liar tattoo thing, that had nothing to do with getting chained in the basement. And the basement, by the way, is my bedroom. But no, after she agreed to come back and to have a dog collar, which she could remove at any time, put around her neck, attached to a chain, attached to the wall. After she agreed to that, she was going to come back to me again because I treated her extremely well when she was around me. Of course she would come back. She was pampered. But then I asked her a key question, which is, did you do illegal drugs while you were away? If it was legal, Fine, none of my business. But I asked her if she did illegal drugs while she was away. And she said, of course. And that's when I said, you know what? Forget the jacuzzi, forget the massage chair, forget the king Tempur-Pedic mattress that you would be laying in, forget the projector on the wall where you could play PlayStation 4 or do whatever you wanted, forget the hand-delivered food to you, forget all these arousing and stimulating things I was offering you. You're not coming back to us ever. And that's when I broke up with this girl for the 6th or 7th time. I'll say that again. I broke up with her for the 6th or 7th time. As a person who was never dumped in that relationship, I ask you, what happens when you get dumped 6 or 7 times by someone? Does that mean that the other person is at fault typically? Or does that mean that you are a repeated screw up, that you keep lying and doing illegal things? Just use your basic reasoning skills. My problem is I forgive people too much. I give them 7 chances. That's insane. I did the same thing in a relationship before that, where I was with someone who admitted that they have a split personality to me, and I still got in a relationship with them anyway, despite that. It's my bad. They named their split personality Eliana. But that same person admitted that she was a pathological liar in an interview with a hater. So what I'm saying is, you guys, you have 2 liars, 2 self-admitted liars, who were both dumped 6 or 7 times by me. In fact, the other ex may have been dumped 8 times. Both individuals were adults who were very clearly just trying to use someone to live off and very happily took tens of thousands of my dollars. If I was like those people, you would lynch me. It would be the end of me. But instead, I'm the responsible adult who took care of these people until I dumped them 6, 7, 8 times. I don't know in what world you could look at those individuals and go, those are the damsels in distress, and not realize that those were actually the freeloaders who would repeatedly betray the hand that fed them. In fact, the same person who lied, admitted they lied, and also admitted that they took part in illegal activity repeatedly, was in a poly relationship with myself and my spouse, where there was an agreement communicated. The agreement I made with my spouse is that I was able to do whatever I wanted in the relationship, no limitations. I repeatedly said this, and it was repeatedly made clear to my spouse, and my spouse agreed to it. But then my spouse went and told the third that they were not to do certain things with me, because my spouse didn't feel it was absolutely necessary to communicate this to me, and instead my spouse felt like everything would be okay if they just communicated this standard to the other party in the relationship. But again, nobody told me this. So when myself and the third wound up alone, I began to pursue making love to them. And they said, I don't know how the other person's gonna feel. And I said, don't worry, I cleared it with them. We are completely okay, as I additionally had made love to the person many times before in the presence of my spouse, simultaneously with my spouse. But what that woman clearly knew and was not telling me is that since I made the agreement with my spouse had spoken to her. And because she agreed to make love to me and didn't communicate that my spouse had set other standards since then, it became a situation where she was cheating on my spouse. And yet to this day, people will say that I cheated despite this very clear, very simple concept being readily available to the public. That is just one of many examples of how that woman got dumped. And what did that woman do when she got dumped? She went out to the woods and she spelled F-U-C-K-Y-O-U in broken up pumpkins, and then tied a noose and placed it next to the pumpkins that said F-U-C-K-Y-O-U. Now, if I did this, if I cheated on somebody, if I slept with somebody else's spouse behind their back, you guys would chase me to the ends of the earth. But because you've decided you don't like me, you will defend most anyone who stands against me completely, voluntarily, blindly. So it's at this point we decide what kind of person you are. If you support my position, you're definitely one kind of person. If you support the other person's position, you're definitely another kind of person. My personal expectation is that if you support me, you're likely a more adult, mature person. Because you've dealt with people who have lied to you before. You've dealt with people who have continuously taken part in illegal activities before, and you're sick of those people. You're on my side because you have dealt with crazy people before who have split personalities, who you've had to call the cops on before. You've been in totally mental relationships where people will take you to a whole different world where up is down and down is up, because that is how their crazy brain works, and you loved them so much at the time that you're just nodding along, not realizing how messed up your relationship is. And then you, like me, have moved on to sane relationships where the other person is completely awesome, and you realize how crazy the previous relationship really was. You then express how crazy the previous relationship was, and because you're not a public figure, the normal sane human beings around you, who you express these experiences to, agree with you. Because for some reason, people who we keep in our own lives, in real life, typically are very, very sane, stable, healthy, loving, considerate human beings, and the people online, well, those are the nut jobs that never get out. Those are the people that sit on the blogs typing away crazy things about people they've never met because they made up this agenda, obsessed their whole life towards someone who doesn't even really necessarily matter, that being me. There's also a third type of person who doesn't want to take a side because they know that they don't know me, they don't know the other people, and they kind of just want to ride this out and see what happens. And I'm not sure who I respect more, the people who are wholeheartedly on my side or the people who are very skeptical of every single person involved. Because skepticism is healthy. Looking at me and saying, well, I don't know if you're telling the truth, I don't know if you're lying, but I won't take a position to one extreme or another because I'm an emotionally balanced person who doesn't want to invest so heavily in something that I'm not certain of. If you're that kind of person, that completely makes sense. But let me be clear about the people who support me. A lot of them have been watching me since 2008, 2009, 2010, and they've seen that again and again, my facts line up. My stories remain consistent, and I've expressed these stories both on live streams and privately and in videos. So you could easily catch me at some point if I was trying to remember a story made up. But you don't catch me because it's not a story made up. I don't have the memory capacity to make up a story and stick with it like that. At least I don't think I do because I've never really tried. So if you support me or refuse to take a side because you're skeptical of both parties, then I respect your position. Because I can only assume that the people who support me have been paying attention to the details, and the people who are skeptical simply haven't been around long enough to actually see how many details line up on my position. This person says I can go on, but if you're going to come at me with this second chance BS and say for me to quit saying how garbage this guy is, then I'm going to say you're in delusional and this guy could do whatever he wants and you just accept it as long as he says sorry. Give him a number of second chances that probably go into triple digits at this point. It's not that people are giving me a second chance. It's that people have listened to and understood the full story. I would need a second chance if I did something like describe a baby as SEXY or a 9-year-old as SEXY and then made an apology video about it where I would admit that I was horribly wrong like a certain YouTuber did. This really happened. A YouTuber did in fact describe a baby and a very, very young child, an 8 or 9-year-old, somewhere around that age as SEXY repeatedly. That person needs a second chance. Meanwhile, I don't need a second chance for these things. You want to know why? Because I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong for saying I wouldn't make any more negative videos about someone, that being the context, and then making positive videos about them. I'm not wrong for giving many adults my opinion of the photos they submitted. And I'm not wrong for telling a 13-year-old that she's not fat. 13-year-old in an outfit that looks like she's going to the YMCA to work out on a treadmill. I'm not wrong for that. I'm not wrong for rating all the other people who submitted to a forum which clearly stated that you are to only submit appropriate images. I'm not wrong for demanding those images be appropriate. I'm not wrong for not getting a single one of those videos taken down by YouTube because again, they were all appropriate. YouTube did not take action against those videos because those videos were appropriate as established by the forums in which they posted the images to. I am not wrong. I am not wrong for pointing out that someone might have health problems because of their own decisions. I'm also not wrong for in the same video saying if they're happy with the way they are, then they should keep being themselves and they should ignore what society thinks of them. They should be proud of themselves. I'm not wrong for that. I'm not wrong for uploading a video by the request of an ex who had a fake nervous breakdown on camera, which I only learned later on was fake, but still with their consent uploaded the video. I'm not wrong for that. I'm not wrong for saying that someone had poor hygiene that I was with after they said numerous hateful things about me. That's something you guys forget to notice. People have said so many things that are dishonest about me, so many things that are inappropriate, and I don't see you guys holding them accountable whatsoever. But again, if you're with somebody who does not shower or otherwise does not take care of themselves, I completely support you for telling other people, this person doesn't wash themselves. I mean, a lot of you do that to me on a regular basis. You assume that I never shower because you say my hair is greasy. But guess what? I shower daily, and I'm not over here crying about you shaming my hygiene because my hygiene is awesome. Shame is for people who feel ashamed of themselves. And a lot of times, people who feel ashamed of themselves should be shamed because they are shaming themselves with their own internal dialogue. They are admitting how gross they are to themselves, and we're not supposed to agree with them? Really? As for leaving 14 voicemails, I'm not just sorry for leaving those voicemails. I'm sorry for ever giving that person a chance, as what a lot of you guys ignore is that person used to be part of a hater group. The person that I rebounded with after the Canadian ex had posted hateful things to my forum way back in the day about me. She hated me. Yet she still proceeded to dating me. And then right after the girl with split personalities got pregnant with someone else's baby while dating me. This is a factual thing that is documented that, like everything else, actually happened. The same girl who I left those voicemails to came to me saying she wanted to be my friend, gave me her phone number, said I was a good guy, and she implied that she wanted to hang out with me. Because again, you guys, when I'm dating someone, I pamper them. I treat them incredibly well. And it's only when I find out they've been lying to me, it's only when I find out they've been doing illegal activity that I'm not so kind to them, because at that point I decide to dump them. So I'm sorry for ever meeting that person, because yes, they were in fact a hater before we started dating and acted like a total fraud throughout our entire relationship, ever saying they loved me or anything like that. And it's also super cringy because this low hygienic person wound up sleeping with me about 5 times throughout the weekend we were together. And that's awkward because again, they had just said publicly that they hated me a few weeks prior. If I did that, oh my god. But of course I wouldn't do something like that. So you guys have to search for lies to describe me rather than anything I've actually done. And here you describe them as a young woman because you saying they're an adult wouldn't sound as good for your agenda. But no, an adult did agree to do something with me in a 50 Shades of Grey scenario. And I'm not gonna say I'm sorry for creating a consensual 50 Shades of Grey scenario, because I am not ashamed of what a dominant person I am in the bedroom. I am not ashamed of how aggressive I can be with a woman who is consensual and in a relationship with me, because being ashamed of that would be such a beta male thing to be. So if you want me to be ashamed of the dominant presence that I am, you're not going to get what you want, because I will not kneel to you. I will not bow my head and say I'm sorry for something I am proud of. I am proud of the chains, and I am proud of the dog collar I would put on Lover's neck. Because if I was not proud of that, then I would be undeserving to chain any consensual partner and ever proceed to stimulating them beyond their imagination upon request. So this is me. Take it or leave it. But if you're going to leave it, I beg for you, never watch my videos again, because you are unwanted. Now let's hash brown.
Oh my god, I hate Onision so much, don't you?
No, because I'm not a moron who's incapable of paying attention.
You're a Satan worshiper!
I guess so.
You're not supposed to be proud of—
Thanks, Satan.
No problem.
To all the lovers of consensual chaining, this one's for you. Poop squeeze.
We are not robots, we are not slaves, we are Banana Nation.